Poe is considered a founding father of American literature and is the first well-known author in the country to make a living from writing alone. He is constantly canonized by popular culture as a mysterious genius that was pure enigma and amazement. We should look closer at the other half of this true story that really isn't strange after all.
Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19, 1809, in Boston, Massachusetts, to parents who were actors. Poe was raised by John and Frances Allan and remained with them as an adult. The Allan family is known to have had at least $750,000, roughly $17 million in 2019, and as such was one of the most wealthy families in Richmond, Virginia. During this time, John was known to spoil Poe, but also discipline him. Poe received an education and went into significant debt, despite John Allan funding Poe's ventures, and later paying Poe even more money when he requested it. Unfortunately, gambling is the way Poe got into trouble and owed a lot of debt, similar to Tesla. The university that Poe went to had strict rules against gambling that Poe had agreed to, but this did not stop him. John Allan warned Edgar Poe of what his life was becoming. Poe would eventually lose his sweetheart, Sarah Elmira Royster. In May of 1827, Poe chose to enlist in the army. Poe ended up joining the army to escape his problems and chaotic lifestyle. Poe used a fake name to accomplish this, Edgar A. Perry. Poe claimed to be 22 instead of 18 in addition to this. It was also at this time that Poe began to write publicly, though it should be noted that his works received no attention. Poe decided that he had had enough of military life, despite receiving all of the promotions and pay raises the officers could throw at him to keep him and others around. In fact, Poe ended up receiving the highest non-commissioned officer rank, Sergeant Major of the Artillery, after just 2 years. Not satisfied, Poe tried to escape by revealing his name and age to his commanding officer. Because of this, and the help of the wealthy John Allan, Poe was able to leave the military early and move on to more problems in 1829. At this time in 1829, John Allan's wife Frances had passed away. John Allan agreed to support Poe's attempt to receive an appointment in the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, to become an officer when Poe asked him. Soon after the aid, Poe would begin his bitter quarrels again with Allan. Poe would go further and claim that up until soon after this point in his life, no one had ever given him a single word of encouragement. Poe wished now to be a full-time writer and poet, but needed another way out of his self-made prison. For Poe, his means of escape was purposefully getting court-martialed. On February 8, 1831, he was tried for gross neglect of duty and disobedience of orders for refusing to attend formations, classes, or church. He tactfully pleaded not guilty to induced dismissal, knowing that he would be found guilty. Before he left, Poe secured funding for his poems from his fellow classmates. Poe continued to write poems as his sole source of income other than begging. One of his stories, in 1833, MS Found in a Bottle, was seen by John P. Kennedy, a Baltimorean of considerable means. Kennedy helped Poe place stories and got Poe a job at the Southern Literary Messenger in Richmond, but Poe was fired within weeks for being drunk while working. In May of 1836, Poe, 26 at the time, married his 18-year-old cousin Virginia Clem. Poe accomplished this by having a witness falsify young Clem's age to be 21. She would die just 11 years later. Poe once again set his hand to writing, though only having mixed success, with critics on either side of his work. Even perhaps his most famous work, The Raven, netted him only $9. So Poe struck out again in a new field. Poe would attempt his hand at politics and would try to get a position working for President John Tyler's administration by claiming to be a member of the Whig Party. Poe had an acquaintance with President Tyler's son and hoped this would be good leverage. In September 1842, Poe failed to appear at an important meeting to discuss the appointment and did not end up getting a position. Frederick Thomas, the person that Poe was supposed to meet with, believed that this was because Poe was drunk. Poe began to drink more and more. He tried his hand at love several more times, but was dismissed. In the end, Poe was found wandering the streets delirious in Baltimore, possibly drunk. Poe was hospitalized, but died shortly after, on October 7, 1847, due to inflammation in his brain.
You can't trust everything you read. So, go out and find counterarguments for, well, everything. Then make your own opinion. Become your own individual person. I'll see you next time.